We're at NAB right now checking out all of the latest gear, tools, software for filmmaking and content creation. And in this video, I'm going to round up my top 10 finds here at NAB 2024.
Real quick, you're watching VP Land. Special thanks to our sponsors for helping make our NAB coverage possible, Blackmagic and Atomos. And now back to the video.
So we're going to check out a lot of great hardware and software that we found at NAB, but don't worry, this is not just going to be about Blackmagic, Atomos, and DJI. We've got a bunch of finds that I guarantee you have not seen anywhere else. So in no particular order, let's jump into it. All right, first up, we have SwitchLight. SwitchLight was one of the most mind-bending demos that I saw at the show.
And this is based on the environment of this,
yes,
this
exactly.
video we just loaded?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this what is this right now? A video, a photo, 360?
It looks as if this person is in a completely different environment.
Basically, it is a software where you can upload your video clip. It will analyze the video, and then you can completely relight your video. You can relight your subject, you can relight your background, you can relight it by loading in a new image. It will change the background and change the lighting based on the image, or you can bring in your own virtual lights and just change the way the scene is lit by repositioning virtual lights in your scene. Now, this is definitely a sign of the way things are going to go in the sense of how AI is going to be more practical and change a lot of aspects of filmmaking, including things that we thought we could never change before, like filming something and then being able to change the way it is lit. You could also see the way things are going too. If you even look at Aperture, one of their big announcements was Sidus Link, where now all of their lights can be networked, and any light that is on a DMX system can be networked together. At Aperture's dinner, they did give a preview of the direction that things are going to go in, where now that all the lights can be networked, you can load in an image and control your entire series of lights through image-based lighting. So we're going to see a lot of changes in the future with lighting. SwitchLight, one of the most impressive demos that we saw, and definitely an indicator of the way things are going to go and what we're going to be able to do in the future. Next up, the Tiffen smartphone filter. So this is a really clever filter for your smartphone, aka iPhone, because it is a MagSafe filter. Basically, it adds a 58mm thread mount to your smartphone. That is wide enough where even if you are using the wide angle lens on your smartphone, you will not get any vignetting. I like the way they handled this filter because it is just an add-on you can slap onto your phone. You don't need a case to attach it. You can put it on your case as long as it has a MagSafe attachment to it. So you can just pop this filter on wherever you're at, record your video, take your photos, and then just pop it back off. Now, they're building this as a photography filter, but what really interested me in this is the ability to adjust our video settings. But if you've done any filming, video filming on your iPhone, the iPhone's lenses are all fixed aperture, so you can't adjust your aperture at all. So if you're going outside and somewhere really bright, the only way to adjust your exposure is either through ISO or through your shutter settings. But by changing all of your shutter settings all the time, you can get some weird motion effects. So by using this filter attachment, you can add ND filters, which is great for filming outside because now you have more control over your exposure without having to adjust your shutter angle or change your ISO settings. So really big fan of this filter. It's also like $30, so it's a really great deal. Just overall, best accessory I saw at the phone, specifically for filming video with an iPhone. And number 8, CuttingRoom. So CuttingRoom is really impressive. It is a complete cloud-based video editor, an NLE, a nonlinear editor. So it works 100% in the cloud. Now, there are a few apps that do this, and cloud-based editing is definitely the direction that everything's going to go to in the future. But what I liked with CuttingRoom is it will work with your files wherever you have them stored. And it also integrates with some other digital asset managers like Mimic and Iconic. So you can just have your media there and edit with it directly through CuttingRoom without having to move it. Also, CuttingRoom's timeline editor seemed very responsive. And you get all the benefits of being in the cloud, where you can have multiple people working on the same timeline. You have flexibility with adding effects and also doing different edits for social media and utilizing the cloud-based rendering where you could render multiple things at the same time. Now, it is lacking some other features you might find in some other more powerful editors like text-based editing or bringing in LUTs or having a proxy workflow. But they did say they are bringing that it's on their list to add. So if you are interested and patient, then features like that will be coming. Now, their target user is a bit more of a news broadcast organization. They also have integrations with bringing in live feeds to do quick instant edits. And they do have a dedicated iPhone app where you could have journalists who are not the most tech savvy, you could preset their video settings so they can just go out, record, the footage is instantly uploaded and inside CuttingRoom, and people can start cutting and getting them out to social. Overall, really fascinating with how they built out their collaborative cloud-based editing. Also just want to give an honorable mention here in cloud editing to scenery. They're definitely a bit more focused on social media cuts. So if you don't care about where your media is stored and you want something that might be a little bit more user-friendly, kind of targeted more for the marketing team, and that does have text-based editing and also does have more options for creating dynamic captions for social media, then definitely check out Scenery. Between the two of these, really impressive with just how powerful cloud-based editing is, and excited to see where this goes in the future. All right, next up, Lightcraft's Jetset Cine. So Jetset Cine is the high-end version of their Jetset app, which runs on your iPhone and enables virtual production on your iPhone.
Full camera tracking, and it's all coming from the phone. So we're using the phone LiDAR and accelerometer, and we can do tracking for virtual production, and then you can also use that with your cinema camera. So you're not limited to just using the phone. It's a full virtual production system. There's a lot going on here.
Now, there are a handful of apps that will do virtual production on your iPhone, but you have to record the video in your iPhone. So it's usually more for a previs tool or for students. What sets Jetset Cine apart is they've cracked a way to use your iPhone as a camera tracker, and you can mount it on top of your Cine camera, so whatever camera you want to film with. And now you have a pretty full-fledged virtual production setup using some very accessible gear. So the demo they were showing was loading a scene from Unreal. It comes with a few preset scenes for fun, but you can load in any Unreal scene into your phone. And then using Axoon's HDMI adapter, you can get the feed from your camera and load it into your iPhone, and then it will overlay the video feed from your camera into your iPhone and use the iPhone as a Cine tracker. Depending on your setup, you can kind of use this as a real-time in-camera visual effects tracker if you do have an LED wall by some chance, or a TV screen or something where you can actually show the image in the background. But probably most use cases, in the cases they were showing, you'd be using this on a green screen. And now this use case doesn't have to do with virtual production. If you want to do anything where you need to just track your camera position so you can get that data and use it for visual effects later in post, this is extremely handy for that. So extremely impressive, and just probably the biggest leap in making higher end virtual production and camera tracking much more accessible using tools that a lot of us already have. So Jetset Cine, it's a subscription model, and they have a free version where you can mess around with it and then upgrade. I believe the Cine version is about $80 a month. All right, number 6, Hedge's PostLab 2.0. So PostLab, I've been a huge fan of PostLab. It is a great app for when you have a team and you want to manage video editing project files, specifically Final Cut Pro. That's where it works really well. And it also works with Premiere. It enables check-in, check-out, locking project files, and also creating unique project files for every user that points to wherever they have the media stored. So PostLab, they are rebooting with a PostLab 2.0, and that expands the check-in, check-out, all of the collaborative features from PostLab to just about any file type. So now it's not just Premiere or Final Cut, but it is any file type where you're collaborating. You need to do locking, version history, all sorts of collaborative stuff to help streamline workflows. But also they did add some other cool features with Final Cut that you might see in more apps like Resolve and Premiere have their own built-in collaborative editing tools like locking bins or checking in folders or project or timelines.
There is no library. PostLab can look into, so when you import a library and you have events in it, we can look into the library, we show you the events.
That kind of just scratched the surface, but kind of check out the video with more details of everything that they're going into with bringing in PostLab 2.0. All right, halfway through, number 5, the DJI Focus Pro. So this is a really powerful device that turns any lens into an autofocus lens. So this device straps onto your camera, straps onto your lens, motor goes onto your lens, handle goes onto the side of your camera, and LiDAR scanner goes on top of your camera. The LiDAR scanner analyzes everything in front of your camera, brings its own video feed into the handle, and now the handle uses AI to analyze all of the faces, all of the objects in the scene, and will let you select what you want to focus on, and it will lock focus onto that. So now you basically have autofocus no matter what type of lens you're filming on. This is really fascinating for just options for solo camera operators. If you're using Cine cameras, now you have autofocus and you have much more control. And not just the autofocus, but the ergonomics of how they built the handle. The handle has additional controls in the grip where you can control the camera, but you can also fine tune the control over the focus. The DJI's demo video gives a lot more explanation of the different options, but it just brings tactile feedback into your focus And if you're locked onto focus with the subject, if you're not, if you want to kind of rack focus yourself, just really interesting in how it gives a lot more controls over how you can control the focus, whether you're a solo operator, and then also integrates with the wireless follow focus systems. If you are on a larger set and you're an AC, you do have additional control if you want to use the LiDAR as an assistant, but then still take over manual control when needed, and also get that same tactile feedback. Really cool device, really awesome in enabling a lot more creative control for solo operators and just ACs in general. All right, number 4, Strada. I've been following Strada for a while. We have a deep dive with Michael Cioni on his vision of Strada and what he's building on our podcast, so go check that out. But in a nutshell, Strada is a cloud-based platform for managing our post-production workflows.
Unlike the generative AI that makes all the headlines about like using AI to create the content for you, we're using AI to do the mundane and boring tasks like syncing and sorting and searching and transcoding and transcribing and analyzing and translating. And that's where I think the best parts for creative people is to automate the boring stuff so that we can do the creative stuff faster.
Right now, the core use they're focusing on is kind of managing that DIT part after you film, and you need to analyze your media and get your media into other editors and adjust the format. So let's say you're shooting a couple cameras and some sync audio. It will use the time code to create what it calls Strada stacks, and it will sync up all your clips, kind of sync up your dailies. And then with one click, you can send it out in a different format, convert it to something else, or transcode to something else, and bring it into your editor or wherever else you need that media. What's really unique about Strada is they utilize cloud-based transcoding. And so that's sort of their premise of how they're possibly going to price things in the future, because they still are in an early beta. But, you know, if you need stuff done fast, so let's say you shot a whole day and you need to transcode your proxies, maybe apply a LUT and get things out and going. If you're doing that on your computer, it's going to be sequential and you're just going to have to wait and process each clip one at a time. But with the cloud-based idea, you can spin up a bunch of virtual computers and run these processes simultaneously. Michael in his demo churned through a couple hundred clips in a handful of minutes because they were running 20 to 50 cloud-based processors rendering everything simultaneously. So that's sort of the core use case that they're working on right now, in addition to analyzing the media. So everything you upload right now, it will get analyzed in the sense that it will get transcribed. So there will be transcripts for all the video, so you could search for certain words and find it in your media. And then it will also analyze all of the objects in the footage. So later on, if you're searching for, you know, like you need a shot of someone opening a drawer or in a kitchen, you could search for those types of things and see a real-time timeline of every time it detects certain objects. So it's got a really nice, clever timeline view playback, clever way of like stacking different angles if you shot at the same time, and you can kind of filter out which video clips you want to see, which you don't. Yeah, it's just really a good kind of portal in managing media workflows. But again, check out our interview, because this is sort of the foundation for building out a platform for managing all types of workflows for whatever you might need, including bringing in different AI models to perform tasks based on whatever you need, like cleaning up audio or analyzing for logos to remove logos. So big plans for the future. All right, number 3, the Atomos Ninja phone.
The iPhone, phone, case, that clicks in, and it's a setting, and then you could stream it out.
And so you could use the cellular on this to stream out your...
Correct, 5G and Wi-Fi 6E. These are all the ones I've logged into in the background, which is live production, our live production with up to 8 cameras, Frame.io for camera to cloud, YouTube Live, Instagram. You can go into Dropbox, you can go into iCloud, you can go into whatever you want.
So I thought this was a pretty clever device. And you plug this device into your iPhone, and now it turns your iPhone into a powerful, clear video monitor, a ProRes video recorder, and a camera to cloud streaming device. So I think that's really clever and nifty for one single device to now be 3. And for some context, Atomos was kind enough to lend us a Ninja to record our footage, and we connected that to the Atomos Connect in order to get Wi-Fi. So it was a pretty big device that we had to use to enable camera to cloud, which was only if we had Wi-Fi, which was iffy on the convention center floor. If we were to buy all this outright, it would be north of $1,000. So for this thing, assuming you already have an iPhone, for about $400, plus I think another $50 or $60 for the iPhone holder, you kind of get everything we did, plus you get the cellular option where you can stream your camera to cloud clips no matter where you are, or live stream your video feed. It doesn't have to just be camera to cloud with clips. You could do a live stream. So I think that's a really clever, handy device. I know there were some other comments that were like, well, you can't add a USB-C storage. However, I will say, you can get an iPhone up to 1 terabyte. Like I said, we were filming on the Atomos Ninja. We had a 500 gigabyte SSD drive. We were filming HD ProRes, just regular ProRes 422. And we never shot more than about 300 gigabytes a day. So a terabyte phone is probably plenty for the day, and you could download it at the end of the day. Obviously, there are some workflow things in this that are not ideal, but for the size, for the money, and for the utility of turning your iPhone into a powerful video monitor, video recorder, video streamer, really clever device. All right, number 2, I'm going to bunch these both together. The 2 new Blackmagic cinema cameras, the Blackmagic PYXIS 6K camera and the URSA Cine 12K camera. I'm not going to dive too much into these. We've got videos on both of them, going into all the features and talking to Blackmagic about them. The PYXIS, look, it's a 3K camera. I feel like a lot of Blackmagic stuff, people are either like they love it or they hate it. So that's up to you. If you love Blackmagic, this looks like a really solid, awesome camera. $3,000, shoots 6K. It still has a display. It has a display on the side, so you'll need an additional monitor to really get the full use out of it, but it has the really clever box design feature while still having controls and a display. It's got a lot of control over the image. It's got CF Express. It's got dual recording. You could do proxies. It has Ethernet built in. Bob did misspeak in our video. It does not have 10 gig Ethernet. It has 1 gig Ethernet. 10 gig is in the Cine 12K camera. But this is great. We are now seeing a lot of network accessibility with cameras, a lot of fluid options as far as if you want to use it as a cinema camera, a streaming camera, a versatile video camera. You got a lot of options. You can plug in the USB-C, record straight to SSD drive. So very flexible. Biggest complaint probably for some more versatile workflows is it just has 1 XLR mini input. We obviously wish it had 1 additional input. Now, it does not record ProRes. It just shoots Blackmagic RAW. So if that is part of your workflow, then yes, you'll love this camera. If it's not, maybe not the camera for you. But if you are in the Blackmagic ecosystem, shoots Blackmagic RAW, has all the cloud integration with Blackmagic Cloud, it is a solid camera, also a great camera for virtual production at $3,000. Super solid. The Cine 12K, for the prep that they did in saying that this was a camera they designed where money was not an object, 15 grand is still a very reasonable price for a high-end cinema camera. So you get a lot of features packed into this camera for just 15 grand. Again, we break all of this down in our main video, but similar to the PYXIS, a lot of cloud integration, a lot of network integration, a lot of flexibility in how you record, monitors and displays on both sides. Something that's really interesting, and maybe we'll see kind of more of this in the future, and I didn't really see any other video dive into this, but they use AI to analyze each lens that you mount on it to calibrate and get the metadata or create their own metadata from the lens. So regardless if you attach a lens that has metadata or that it can read from, you can calibrate the lens and get your focus marks and focus metadata regardless of what kind of lens it is, as long as it mounts.
To exude it through a little AI.
I do this calibration the first time.
Correct.
Do you have to do that every time you put the lens on? Does it remember your lenses?
You can save settings and things like that. So it's, but it was clever.
Our video interview goes into more detail with Bob about this, but really interesting. And I'm kind of curious to see how this will play out in the future with kind of more use cases like this of using AI to analyze hardware and make hardware connect when maybe it wouldn't have connected before. So yeah, Cine 12K camera for a cinema camera, 15 grand, pretty reasonable, pretty solid camera. And again, it just shoots Blackmagic RAW. So either, that is part of your workflow and you're going to love this camera, or it's not your flavor and there are other camera options for you. But really exciting to see new hardware come out of Blackmagic. And honorable mention, and we'll dive into this in the future videos, the 2110 hardware, we did not dive into it as much as I wish we did, but I think that opens a lot of possibilities for network video workflows, and we'll dive into that in other videos. And lastly, bitbox. So this is a new startup created by a couple of DITs solving one very specific issue. So a lot of cinema cameras, they have integration where they have their own apps. You can control all the camera settings from apps, great for ACs, great for DITs, to remotely control camera settings or read camera metadata. These apps work off Wi-Fi, and the problem on big sets is a lot of things are connected to the Wi-Fi, and there is a lot of interference and noise, and it does not always create reliable connections for the DITs or the ACs to do their job when they need to connect to the camera and adjust the settings or read out the metadata. So bitbox solved this problem by creating a very specific piece of hardware, and you could either have it in transmit or receive mode. So you need two pieces of the hardware, and one connects to the camera and one connects to either your computer or your iPad device. And it basically creates its own Wi-Fi signal and uses a different frequency than the regular Wi-Fi network. So these two boxes can have a direct communication, cut through all the noise, and you have a solid connection for the DIT cart or for the AC to directly communicate with the camera and bypass all the interference and effectively be able to do their job. So really clever piece of hardware. It's really lightweight, and when you hold it, it's both solid yet pretty small. A lot smaller than I thought. When I first saw photos, I thought it would be the size of a Teradek bolt, but it is like a fourth of the size of that. So easy enough to mount on any camera, not be in the way. So bitbox, really clever piece of hardware that solves one specific issue, but I think it's going to be really useful for anyone working on professional film sets that's in the camera department or DIT.
And that is it for this episode. Be sure to check out the rest of our NAB coverage over here at this playlist and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next episode.